Where you at, Jim?
Yep. Okay. I gotta see.
Somehow you're not there. There
Well,
you are.
you can hear me, right?
I hear you perfectly fine.
Yeah. For some reason, my camera when I went into that intro, when the intro started, it screwed up my camera here. So let me get back to that. And in the meantime, while I'm doing all this, good morning, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Be right back. Talk to the people, Fred.
Hello, everyone. Let's see who's here. I see here. Let me check on the comments here. I don't see too many people already hit the live. Oh, Tom's here as usual. How you doing, Tom? Good morning, bud. Y'all ready for an exciting show?
Well, we'll see if we can make this work here. Hang on a second. Cameras, there was nothing going on until I played that intro. And my camera settings are right. Start the camera. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. All right. Can you hear me, Fred?
Perfectly clear. I'm going to have to keep watching both streams now that you can get all the comments.
Yeah, just little things that go wrong. I mean, it's like I say, we were talking off camera before we went live, and everything was fine. And then as soon as I played the intro video, it dropped. It cut my camera out in the studio here. So it was. Anyways, Tom, good morning. How you doing today? And Tom, we thank you very much for the kind donation that you sent in, and we will be having a thank you card out in the mail to you shortly. So thank you very much, my friend. We appreciate your support for the podcast, not only in that way, but the fact that you show up every week and contribute to the podcast. So thank you. And good morning, Mick. I keep seeing you put Michael Pesia on this thing, and it messes me up, Mick. So, anyways, hey, what are we going to talk about today? I'll tell you what. I started out the week, and Fred knows this. I send him notes towards the end, so he never really knows what's going on in this crazy head of mine. But I started out the week wanting to talk about the U.S. Constitution because we are. I mean, it's no secret that our Constitution is being ignored by the majority of Congress and the federal government, and so that was going to be my main topic. Let's put it that way. The main topic. Then we get the bombshell drop that Trump federalized the D.C. police. So that got me thinking. Is that constitutional? So then I started digging into that, and then we morphed into the 9th and 10th Amendment. So this is going to be a little bit of hodgepodge between what Trump is doing to try to bring law and order to Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Constitution, because I really want to talk to you specifically about the 9th and 10th Amendments in the Bill of Rights. So we will get into that as well. But first, a little housekeeping again. I know most of you are on Facebook with us, so just on the video here, just click like, click share, help us overcome the Facebook algorithms. We do simulcast to both the Two Guys Drinking Coffee page and the Patriot Pulse page. I know last week there was some questions as to where the comments were showing up from. So I can't. If you're on the Two Guys page and you don't see the comments, you might switch to the
Rumble?
Patriot Pulse page. If you're on Rumble, subscribe to our page. We appreciate that. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does alert you when we add new content. And we should be live to X. I will check that up. Yep, we are live on X right now too. So, and good morning, Cindy. I see Cindy joined us here too. So missed you guys last week. I couldn't be at church because I was I was busy doing McKean County Fair business, but I'll probably be back this week. Hopefully, all that will be done by Sunday. So,
And you're
So
right.
what do you-
I got both streams going, and we got different sets of comments.
all right, cool, good deal. Oh, different sets on from the two guys to the Patriot Pulse
Yeah,
side.
Patriot Post doesn't have as many as two guys drinking coffee right now.
Okay, all right, interesting. Who is commenting on the two guys side?
We got Tom. What's his name?
Mike, Mick.
Mick, and then
Mick, yeah.
the other one you got Cynthia.
Yeah, that's Cindy.
Okay.
So that's on the two guys drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to comment on here. We'll see who else pops on, but yeah, keep monitoring that, and we'll see if anybody else pops on the Patriot Pulse side of the thing. So, hey, let's get right into the topics. But before we start talking, I want to play this little video clip for you. It's only a minute and 5 seconds long, but this will kind of set up our discussion. So here we go.
Things out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly, like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
Okay, before we get into the discussion, I got a question to ask, and I'll ask you, Fred, and I'll ask anybody that's online. And by the way, Georgia, good morning. Glad to see you on too. The question is this: why is it wrong, or why do the Dems go completely apoplectic when people like Trump want to get tough on crime?
Because they're making money off of it. I believe they're making money off the crime in D.C.
Okay, all right. How would that be? I mean,
well, just like Joe Biden found cocaine in the White House, but we don't know how that got there.
back to the that was just his son's private stash. I mean, nothing to see there, you know. But I just got to thinking the other day is that, you know, Trump's getting tough on crime. He's trying to clean things up, and the Democrats and the judges, the corrupt liberal judges, let these people out with a slap on the hand or probation, or, you know, you see every day. I can't remember the one lately. I was on Fox News the other day. Carjacker, and he kidnapped a mother and a child, a mother and a small son, and forced them to rob a bank. Okay, the mother had to go in. He held the son hostage in the car, and she was in there robbing the bank, and the guy got caught, and the liberal judge, let him off with a ridiculously small sentence, and within weeks, I think, he was back on the street again.
Mm-hmm.
To do the same thing. So I, you know, personally, I applaud Trump for making that move. But immediately when I read that, I thought, oh shit, that's going to make the Dems' heads explode. So is that constitutional? I thought, is that within his legal rights to do that as president of the United States? So I started digging into a little bit of history on Washington, D.C., because Washington D.C. is a little bit different from all the other states and all the other cities because, first of all, it's not a state, and second of all, well, let me dig right into the history that I found here. Then you can see what I'm talking about here. So, anyways, Washington, D.C. was established as the capital of the United States following a compromise in 1790 between the northern and southern states in the, the original colonies at that time, the original states. And it was built along the Potomac River, but it was specifically designed that way to be independent of any state. Part of Virginia and part of Maryland donated however many acres of land that is. I thought I had that in my notes here, but I don't. But they donated, each state donated land, and they established Washington, D.C. The construction began in 1790s, and the federal government officially moved to D.C. in 1800. And I'm gonna read this out of my notes verbatim. With the White House and Capitol completed as key structures, the city, says here, the city was deliberately placed outside any state to ensure federal control.
Right.
So it says it was designed so no state, it would be under no state's jurisdiction, and it had direct. Actually, it's supposed to be under direct congressional authority. And I'm sure it does, but then the next question, did it ever go out of government control? And according to my research, it actually, Congress has maintained ultimate authority over the district, and it's right in the Constitution under Article 1, Section 8. But there have been some other things. I mean, there was a District of Columbia Organic Act of 1801, where some people claim that specific act, although I have not been able to find it in there, I've researched it several times, but they say that's where the United States became a corporation instead of a republic. And you've heard that before, haven't you, Fred, where we are the corporation of the United States of America? Well, supposedly that was done in 1801 under the Organic Act.
Yeah,
but
we didn't vote that in, so I don't agree with it.
Well, I want, as a matter of fact, if anybody out there is watching this and you're a history buff, let me know where it says specifically that we became a corporation because of the 1801 Organic Act. So a little homework for y'all. Well, Jim already popped in with some further Article 1, Section 8. Well, I'll put it right on the screen. Hang on here a second, and I'll read it off the screen. To exercise executive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square, which is this District of Columbia. Acceptance of Congress, become a seat of government in the United States, and to exercise the authority over all places, purchase, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So that's the actual article in the Constitution. I appreciate you putting that up there, Jim. Kelly, good morning, Kelly, by the way, says your audio is echoing a little bit. Maybe it's from my side. Go ahead and say something again.
Hello. Yeah, we're getting an echo.
Huh, because it's probably because hang on a second. Hang on. It's probably my fault here. Talk to me, Fred. Talk to me.
How you doing, Jim?
Yeah, you know what's happening? Why you're getting an echo is because it's not coming through my speakers on my that I have plugged in over there. You're coming through my laptop speaker, which is being picked up by my microphone.
Yeah.
So,
now I don't get an echo.
Well, I turned it down a little bit. So, Kelly, is that any better? Say something, Fred.
Hello. Oh, I am getting a little bit of an echo.
Yeah, because it's coming off my speakers. I can't get you switched to. Hang on a second, guys.
Echo. Hello. Yes, it's echoing.
All right, just a second. I got to make sure it's connected with my Bluetooth. Technical difficulties every time. Everybody talk amongst yourselves. Well, I can work out the Bluetooth issue and why my speakers aren't.
The good thing about this is exposing some of these judges. They're opening their mouths, but we can find all of these moles, all these judges that are political.
Yeah. Okay.
They're all stepping up and showing their ugly head.
Okay, so my Bluetooth is connected and my audio. Let me go over here.
Yeah. It used to echo when I did it. Now I'm not getting no echo. No echo.
Go ahead, Fred, say something.
No echo at all. It's gone.
Okay. Good deal. We got it solved. Technical difficulty solved. Kelly, does that sound better to you now?
How you doing, Kelly? There you go, Kelly.
I think we're okay. I think we're all right. So anyways, let's get back into the conversation on that. And Jim kind of verified that for me. Unless I'm reading that wrong, I'm assuming you agree with that, Jim, that statement. So anyway, so is it constitutional? Yes. And if you read in or listened on that video at the beginning, Trump actually declared, he was doing all this under, where was it? It was under Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. Let me scroll down here in my notes so I can see it. So he used that Section 740, and I did look that up. As a matter of fact, Section 740 of the District of Columbia, I can actually put this on the screen, I think. Let me see if I can get on the screen here. Screen share, Windows, right here, share. Okay, so if you can all see this, this is my other screen here in the office. Section 740 District Home Rule Act, enacted in 1973, and I wanted to know if it had an expiration date. So in other words, this is why I looked that up. Just this past week, he enacted that the Section 740 to take control of the DC Metropolitan Police. And I wondered, well, does it have like a 30-day term limit? And evidently it does not. And I'm looking at Jim's
that's from AI, though.
So Trump's federal is partially constitutional emergency. But it doesn't say partially. If you read that Section 740, it doesn't say. And I pulled this right off the right off the government site. Federal response transfers some functions, blah, 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 Section 740 of the Home Rule Act. It doesn't say anything in there about emergencies.
Right.
It just says they have the right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine you have to have a reason to do it, which I think we do because, Washington, D.C. is a cesspool of crime.
Exactly.
So anyways, he's 100% within his right to do that under his jurisdiction. It doesn't appear that since it's in the Home Rule Act, Section 740, it does not have to have any legislative authorization because the legislation it was already passed by the legislature. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't need anything from that. I'm going to try to get my mouse
and he's
back
getting rid of all the homeless people all over the streets in DC too, which is
I don't know how in the heck is he going to do that.
You could just clean up the streets with the police.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. You need to get the homeless off there, but where do you put them?
He's going to provide housing for them. He said that clearly. He's going to provide buildings and places for them to stay, but they can't stay on the streets the way they've been doing and making DC look bad.
Yeah.
He's going to provide buildings and places for them to stay.
I don't, Mick, I don't know where this came from. I didn't hear it personally, but that's interesting that the chief of police didn't know what the term chain of command meant. That's funny, actually.
Probably a DEI hiring.
And Tom says here, I believe when you read enforce indefinitely says it all. Yeah. In other words, as long as there's a need, Trump can keep that in force. Let's see, 740, part of the Constitution, original intent. Well, Jim, I'm going to put that up there. Section 740 of the Home Rule Act is not part of the Constitution. The only part of the Constitution says that the Washington, D.C., being separate from any state, is under federal control. 740 rule, Section 740 of the Home Rule Act has nothing to do with the Constitution. That has to do with the local provisions for Washington, D.C. So I don't think you can look at the Constitution because it doesn't apply to the Home Rule Act, only to the fact that it's under federal control. That's all.
Yeah.
That was the point I was trying to make. So hang on a second. Got a wet to whistle. So anyways, the Home Rule Act was designated as a permanent restructuring of DC's governance, granting limited self-government while preserving congressional authority. So that's where, you came up with the idea that you can have a mayor and a city council in Washington, D.C., and you can be semi-autonomous within the confines of the District of Columbia, but still it's explicitly under federal control.
Right.
So let's see what else it says here about the Home Rule Act that might be appropriate here. So any change in the Home Rule Act provisions would require new federal legislation, which is interesting. That's where the legislature would get involved if they wanted to amend or modify that Home Rule Charter. Let's say they wanted to get rid of that Section 740. That would require an act by Congress, voted on and passed. So, I think, at least in my opinion, Trump had every bit of authority to go in and do that. And I'll say for anybody that, however you feel about Trump, let's put it generically. The president of the United States has that authority to do that. Okay. So now the next question is going to be because I saw this on, I don't know if it was on Facebook memes or comments. Let's see here. Mick made another comment here, giving you a shout out there, Fred. Checked all the boxes. So, all right. So what's the meme I saw, and this is food for thought. Let me know what you all think. He says, well, if he does that in Washington, D.C., and he does clean it up, like he closed the borders, like the federal government closed the borders, or at least, almost 100% closed them. Now they're saying, well, what if you go into other cities and clean them up? Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Chicago, Illinois, New York City. Well, I think that's where, in my opinion now, that's where you step over the line. Okay, because those individual cities are not under federal control. And I don't know of anything in the Constitution that I've seen, and I've read it several times, where constitutionally the federal government can come in and take over a city. Have you ever seen anything like that, Fred? Or anybody else listening?
But they can redistrict it.
Well, yeah, that's just to put more, to change the
That's what they did to
structure
get
of the
power.
seats, to change the structure of the power in the state. But ultimately, basically what it is for other cities, keep in mind, Washington, D.C. is completely different. And it was to make it so it wasn't under control of any state,
Right.
but other cities are. So it's not like Trump can go into Philadelphia.
No, he can't.
And say, okay, we're taking over the police, we're deploying the National Guard. It was interesting, though, in LA when he did that. I don't know what pretense he declared a national emergency in there.
Because
and then
I thought he did that because they were threatening government buildings.
Could be.
They were threatening government buildings, so they sent them in to protect the government buildings that were there because they were losing their minds.
Okay. Well, ultimately, if you have a governor that is not doing anything to protect his own citizenry, even then, I don't know what the federal government's role would be in that. I mean, Trump, as well as all elected officials, take an oath of office to protect and defend the United States of America and the people living in it. And people living in LA or Chicago or New York City are part of the United States of America. But there again, I guess I'd have to do a little bit more research on that and see if that could ever apply.
This is what bothers me. When they don't want to vote on something, they just walk out like they did in Texas. So why can't we withhold their salaries when they walk out?
Oh, you talking about Texas?
Yeah, they just walk out. They don't have nothing to do with it. They just walk out. Then why can't we? If they don't put them in jail, at least take their salaries. Pull your federal funding to that state until they get themselves in line. I know that's a little aggressive, but at the same time, if I was to walk out of my job because I don't like that my boss makes me go to the long way to get to the bathroom, you think everything's gonna go well? No, I'm gonna get fired. That's your job. Do your job or get out of your job.
Well, it seems to be that the government employees operate by a different set of rules than the rest of the United States.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
No, I agree. And that's where it comes. I don't know. I really don't know how the Democrat. All right, let's take Philadelphia because we looked that up this morning. Philadelphia County in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia City specifically, has a ridiculous amount of crime. I mean, it's like Washington, D.C., New York City. It needs cleaned up. Okay, there's no doubt about it. But Philadelphia County, I looked up this morning, is 75.3% Democrat.
Right.
So these Democrats and I know I'm probably, Jim's probably running all over the room with his coffee saying, it's not Democrats or Republicans. It's, follow the Constitution. Yes, you're right, Jim, but I'm going to be partisan here for a minute. 75% of the population of Philadelphia is Democrat, and they keep voting in, at least we hope they're legal votes. They keep voting in these Democrat officials, mayors, city council, police, whoever they vote in. I don't know if they vote in their police chief or if that's appointed, but even if it's appointed, they're voting in the people that do the appointment. So are the people in Philadelphia County responsible for their own crime rate? Are the people in Chicago or New York City or LA that keep voting for this liberal, out of control, lack of control government? Jim just comment. So are the people ultimately responsible? Jim says he's just refilling his coffee. So,
but the part that bothers me the most is this is what bothers me. They can do all of this stuff, and then you got parts of Minnesota, parts of Detroit, where they're flying another country's flag over the American flag. But you're saying, oh, America can't. the president can't do anything about that. To me, that's a declaration of another country in your country. They're putting the other countries' flags over the American flag in certain areas. It's even happening in down in parts of Miami. They're flying the Cuban flag over the American flag. Enough's enough. Why did you come here if you don't want to be an American?
What about, is it which oh, it's one of the people in the squad. The I don't think it was Omar. It was one of the other ones that outside their office in the Congress, and they have a Somalian flag, or what was it?
Flag. She has a Somalian flag above her office. Exactly. No American flag, Somalian flag. Why are we allowing that?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they're violating their oath of office if they're putting another country in front of the United States, and they should be taken out. They should be impeached. They should be removed from office.
She even made this statements to Somalia. Don't worry about it because I'm in the interest of Somalia over America. She even made that statement.
Yeah. So.
And how is she still sitting in office?
Jim, Jim M, when you were gone, I just got terribly partisan, Democrat and Republican. I figured that was going to set you off there a little bit, but I just wanted to explain what I was talking about when you were getting your coffee. So anyway,
Americans act like they got to start a civil war and start shooting at other states before we can do something about it. But we can't stop it before it happens.
Well, let me ask you this, and everybody else that's listening, feel free to jump on there with a comment. When all of these elected officials take their oath of office and swear to defend the United States of America, all of its interests, and then they turn around and, as you were saying, Fred, put the other countries ahead of the United States. Exactly. Where does it become a breach of their oath of office? And what would be and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm asking the question. Maybe I got to do more research on this. What would be the steps necessary to remove these people from office? Does it have to go back to their state? In other words, where's Omar from? Minnesota?
Yeah.
Or Wisconsin? Minnesota?
I think he's from Minnesota. I could be wrong. Somebody might correct me on the chat, but I think it is.
All right.
Minnesota.
So
when did they cross the road of treason?
Well, treason, and you got to be providing direct aid to the enemy, to an enemy, whatever that enemy might be, or whoever that enemy might be. That would be considered treason. I think if nothing else, you're violating your oath of office. Jim, here, let me put this up here. If the official took an oath to uphold the Constitution, then the U.S. flag should fly first. To fly another flag would be a breach of office. Could it be viewed as? And that's exactly the question we're asking. Is that really treason, or is it just a violation of their oath of office? Or again, is a violation of the oath of office necessarily treason? I don't think it's treason. I'll tell you what. I think what Obama did was definitely treason.
Absolutely.
Where he flew billions of dollars in cash on pallets in C-130s over to Iran.
Yes.
That was aiding and abetting an enemy of the United States. And as far as I'm concerned, Obama should have been tried, convicted, and faced the severest penalty for treason.
It's like people are.
But I don't know if you can equate this to somebody that's flying a Somalian flag outside their office. I don't know. Anybody else have an opinion on that?
What is your interest if you're going to fly another country's flag over the American flag? You're just saying to well, I'm from there, so I just want to let everybody know. So I'll put that flag up there. That's crap. That you know exactly what you're doing.
Well, in the case of what you're talking about here, where it's outside her office, she replaced the American flag with that. So she doesn't even have an American flag outside her office.
That's the Somalian flag, exactly.
All right. So we got a comment here from Trisha. Let me put it up on the screen here. It's very black and white. As soon as they show or say they are putting another country before the U.S., they should be pulled from their position. No gray area.
Amen.
Tricia, I agree with you 100%.
But the thing is, I think people are too afraid to do it because they think they're committing political suicide. Oh no, we can't do that because it might come back and get us later on. So we can't do that. No.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it already.
Mick made an interesting comment here, Fred.
Uh-huh.
When you go to work tomorrow, wear a Tops shirt. Tops Friendly Markets. Well, see what they say.
I'm gonna wear this hat. Dear
What's
America.
that? What is it?
A Dear America hat and work and see what happens.
Oh, okay. I can't.
No,
see
don't
it.
worry about it. Yeah, I had to secretly pass out my flyers about the judges so that I didn't get caught too.
All right. I'm going to look something up while we're talking here.
That'd be a good idea. Top shirt.
Let me just see what. Okay, so here, according to my search here, just the dictionary definition of treason: a crime that undermines the offender's government, disloyalty by virtue of subversive behavior, which flying a flag of another country instead of your own country outside a government office, I think would fall under that, or an act of deliberate betrayal of the country. So Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution defines all right, here we go. This is from the actual Constitution. Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution defines treason as levying war against the United States or adhering and providing aid or comfort to its enemies. Although there have been relatively few treason cases in American history, the Supreme Court has clarified what it means to levy war and provide aid, and that goes into the whole annotated Constitution.
Right. So when you look at USAID, treason all over it.
Oh yeah, all right. Okay, so aiding and abetting an enemy or betraying your country. I'm gonna show my age here. Back in the day, back when I was in school, and this may even been, oh my gosh, might even have been in junior high school, which for me would have been in the late 60s. We had to read a book called A Man Without a Country. And it dealt with a treasonous act in the colonial days, let's say early 1800s, whatever. But the man was found guilty of treason, and his sentence was and this was back when they had sailing ships, the full masted sailing ships. His punishment was to be put aboard a ship and never to again set foot on the ground of the United States of America. So maybe that's what we should do to these people. So just send them out, just send them back where they came. Send Omar back to Somalia.
I don't know. I think Texas still has open hangings, don't they? On the
all right. Well, Jim just verified what I said about giving aid and comfort to the enemies. Definitely what Obama did. Absolutely. I don't know if flying another country's flag outside of your government office instead of the United States of America would definitely be anti-American. Does it constitute treason? What do y'all think?
What about the military leaks that have happened over the last couple of years?
Like what? What are you talking about?
Leaking information that we were going to strike them. The information was leaked to the country so that they could get out of there. What about those?
That was General Milley. He should have been brought up on charges and faced the full extent of the law, because he publicly stated that this was during Trump's first term. he
Exactly.
publicly stated that if Trump were ever going to attack China, that he would call up China and give them a warning and
Yeah,
let them
exactly.
know. That was, I mean, he didn't do it, so is that it didn't become an act of treason, but he publicly declared he would. So at what point, I mean, if nothing else, he should have been court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, lose all of his benefits.
Absolutely.
And you know, and Tom, you're a veteran. I don't know if we have any other veterans on here, but you know, get him out of the military. If he's going to sell us out to China, if he publicly states he would, then get him out. But did it cross the line to treason by just saying he would, but not really doing it?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then from credible sources, they were saying that Obama, when he became president, asked generals would they fire on the U.S. people if they had to. The ones that said no were discharged.
Yeah. Well, think about this. General Milley can say he'll support China over America. Nothing happens to him, but they kick people out of the service for not taking a jab in their arm.
True.
All right. So this is Jim. Lots of Congress people and presidents have done what Obama did. We just supported terrorists taking over Syria, for example. It's so bad that Tulsi Gabbard 10 years ago proposed the bill, "We will not support terrorists." It never passed. Both sides are treasonous.
So
well,
put them both under the same situation. We're not saying one and not the other. We're saying all of them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make a connection, you know, between, okay, let's say there's a terrorist regime running Syria, and they're fighting one of our enemies. So we give aid to Syria, that's a terrorist organization. Does that constitute treason against the United States of America? Because Syria was not attacking the United States of America. So I think you got to be careful there. Okay.
That's the art of war.
And it kind of goes, all right. And I'm not defending this thought. I'm just throwing it out there for conversation. What is that saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that what the saying goes? The enemy of my enemy is. So Syria may have been bad people, but they were the enemy of our enemy. So for that moment in time I'm not saying it's right, Jim. I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah,
so
but almost every war you're going to find where we aided an enemy of the enemy, but we weren't giving them money to attack America. That's the point. We weren't giving them money to take over America. We weren't having our American flag pulled down from our offices like they're doing, is what I'm trying to tell you. Yes, The art of war, if you get the enemy to fight with somebody else, they're not messing with you. Yep.
Hey, Tom, I agree with what you're saying there about Milli Vanilli. So I just wanted to put that up there because it's true. Hey, we got some other people joining us late. Charlie, Christy, how you doing? Of course, we got Trisha on there. Let me go back through. Chloe Klussman is on there. I haven't seen you in a long time, Chloe. But thanks for joining us this morning. So we've been talking about for all of those who joined late, the federalization of the Metropolitan DC Police Department, the federal government taking over their law enforcement, and we have determined that was totally within the rights and purview of the federal government and specifically the executive office, the executive branch, because he used Section 740 of the Home Rule Charter for Washington, D.C. to do it. So we covered that. And then we morphed into all this other stuff like we always do.
But the truth of the matter is the federal government has always controlled the whole area anyway, but it's political. That's the problem.
Well, what do you think about and this is one thing I'm dead set against. I'll tell you that right offhand. The Dems keep talking about statehood for Washington, D.C. First of all, it was to make it neutral of states. If you give it statehood, it just becomes another state. It would be the tiniest little state, even a fraction of the size of Rhode Island. But right away, it would give you one representative in Congress or in the House of Representatives. It would give you 2 senators, which no doubt would be Democrat senators. Absolutely. So the only reason they're doing that, or they're proposing it, is to get 2 more seats in the Senate and another seat in the House of Representatives. But going to that, it never should become a state. Let's see what Jim has another comment here about Syria again. The installed new president of Syria, Jalani, was an FBI top 10 terrorist. Okay. Well, I don't know. I can't answer that question, Jim. Who is right? And if I'm going to go back to my other statement, if they're not directly attacking the United States of America, then I realize CIA has toppled governments and installed new regimes. They've done the United States of America, the government, not the people, but the government. And I'll say the deep state government, which to me means CIA, FBI, and all of their globalist handlers. They have very dirty hands. They do. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can't escape that. Killing American troops is attacking America. Okay, you're right. I mean, in Syria, America, and I'm trying to think specifically what part that you're talking about. Killing American troops in Iraq. So Syria, you're saying Syria was responsible for the American troops being killed in Iraq. Maybe it was. I don't know. Or was it Iraqi troops being supported by Syria? I don't know that either. And I think therein lies the problem. We don't know for sure. Nobody signed a bullet that said, hey,
and that whole ordeal happened in 2021. Who was the president when that happened? When he attacked American soldiers, they say he did. In 2021 is when that supposedly happened. And the FBI was run by the Joe Biden clown squad, who can't open a laptop, where I got 5 people I know in my neighborhood who could probably open that laptop by themselves. That's when that happened, when they attacked the American soldiers. It was under Biden's watch, and it was Biden's FBI that allowed that to go through.
Okay, I guess I'm missing what specific incident you're all talking about.
That happened over there was during when Biden was in office. But now he made the statement after the fact, but that wasn't when it happened. When they were looking for him, that was in 2021.
Yeah,
when that happened, supposedly.
On the comment, on the comment that Jim made about this Jalani, who's the evidently president of Syria now, I'm going to go back to that statement I made earlier. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it pretty. It doesn't make it clean. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay. Does it make it right? No, it doesn't. But you can probably look all throughout history and you see the same thing. That enemies sometimes become allies when fighting another common enemy. And
same thing happened with killing all these Americans on American soil when they blew up the World Trade Centers. Y'all can say it was a plane, but I don't believe it.
And the other thing too, yeah, I know that's a whole nother issue. We could go down that rabbit hole.
I know I ain't gonna go down that rabbit hole, but yeah.
So if Trump called this Jolani a freedom fighter. I don't know if he did, but maybe he did. I can't verify that.
Yeah.
But again, politics, war. I mean, we're a fallen people. That's just the way it was. We're always going to be a fallen people.
The negative side of war is there's always collateral damage. That's the sad part about war. Sometimes people die that you don't intend for them to die, but they do.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part about being a leader too, because you have to make calls sometimes that risk people's lives, and sometimes you don't know the outcome until after it happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna purposely open another can of worms here. You realize that at the birth of our country and our founding fathers, their intention never was, and you read some of the history of these people and the anti-federalists especially, they never wanted to get embroiled in any kind of conflicts outside the United States of America. And right. I'll go one step further and say that it was never the United States of America, meaning the people of the United States of America, that ever wanted to get involved with another war. It was always, and this goes back to all wars are bankers' wars. All right, you got the money people, the Rothschilds. I don't care who you name, but the people that report directly to Satan. And I'll say that true. just like the boardroom, my scenario of the boardroom with Satan at the head of the table. But it's these people that are controlling the government that gets into these endless wars and pits. I mean, World War I was created by the bankers. World War II was created by the bankers. All right. You can take every war in modern history, and they are, we get sucked into them, or the money people that own the politicians in this country, which we know they do. But the money people,
Castro,
they're the ones that just like, all right, we'll go back to 9/11, 2001. This, and again, I'll say this is my theory. Okay, I can't prove it. Say what you want, but it's out there. My theory: the CIA set up the attack on the World Trade Center. All right, they're the ones that either recruited or allowed the different actors to commandeer the plane, hijack the planes, fly them into the World Trade Center. Mm-hmm. But it was a CIA action. All right, the CIA wanted, or was directed to by the globalist handlers, to do this for a number of different reasons. To number one, then, and I think Bush 2 knew about it before it happened. He knew what the plan was. That's my own personal opinion. And one of the reasons for it was to enact the Patriot Act, which took freedom away from the people.
Absolutely.
So if you want to go back to that, even, and I'm almost losing my train of thought here because of going back to the enemies, and we were never to be involved with these foreign wars, but yet we're always sucked into them. The 9/11 attack was to suck us into Afghanistan and Iraq and going after the axis of evil, as they called them. 9/11 was George Bush's toy. Yeah. And you know as well as I do, those towers did not crumble because of planes flying into them. They were demolished like they would demolish an old abandoned building. Tower 7 that was never hit went down. And there's still people that claim, because there's no video or parts of planes flying into the Pentagon, that Pentagon was either a missile attack or it was a bomb planted in the Pentagon that destroyed that section of the building. but it was all done to draw us into more conflict, to take away our freedoms through the Patriot Act. Did George Bush commit treason? In my view, Jim, yes. Can we prove it? Probably not. Can we prove it in a court? And treason has to be brought, if I remember correctly, and Tom, you can help me on this because you're a veteran. You're our resident veteran in this discussion group. But I think treason has to be brought, charges of treason have to be brought by a military tribunal. Is that
Right.
correct? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Fred, do you know that to be a fact?
I think that's the only way. And it's not tried in a regular U.S. court. It's tried at a military court.
A military court. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, Jim, I think Obama committed treason. I think Bush 2 committed treason. I think Bush 1 committed treason. 1,000 points of light, wanting to create a new world order. They're all true, but there's a difference between what I think sitting here doing a podcast and what can be proven in a court. So yeah. Tricia, I gotta see.
It used to be Guantanamo Bay is where they did that. If you did something really bad, you were tried in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah. Tricia just mentioned smoke and mirrors. When something big happens, you have to look around and see what else is going on. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Tricia. And we always ask that. We've asked that on this podcast since we've had it started, is when something happens, you always have to be looking in the opposite direction, because they're showing you what's in the left hand, but you got to wonder what's going on in the right hand.
Absolutely.
Because it's distraction. It's the magicians. The biggest trick of a magician is diversion, diverting your attention away from what they're doing, and that's what all these people have done. I mean, our government continues to do it. I think it's getting, and I know I'm going to make some heads explode here, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think unless there's something else going on that I don't understand behind the scenes, I think Trump is trying to clean this up.
Okay, I just make it just this. It's straight out of Obama's playbook. Throw out enough garbage so that no one can see the truth. He gets a bunch of stories. But the truth of the matter is, what presidents have ever tried to use tariffs to clean up our country before Trump did? I mean, before Trump, there was people did it. Start America, that's how we ran our country, was tariffs. Then we became, war happened, and then we started to tax the heck out of Americans to pay for everything. But Trump is the most recent president that actually tried to clean up our country's debt through tariffs, and it's working. But we started on tariffs. Why don't we go back to the way it was? If we want to go back to the original Constitution, why don't we go back to the original way we ran the country?
Yeah, I wonder what it would take to go back to that Constitution that you can read on a single piece of parchment paper. Part of my notes here that I didn't read. We have an annotated Constitution that was brought to our town hall meeting a year ago in July by Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was by the guy that was in here supporting the Convention of States. It was a book that was literally like 10 inches hot thick and over 3,000 pages. And that's technically what our U.S. Constitution is right now. It is taking that one sheet of parchment paper and adding myriads of court rulings and everything else to just convolute the Constitution. We need to get back to the original intent. We need to get back to the Constitution as our founding fathers attended or wrote it and wanted our country. Because it was it's a perfect document. It really is. And in my personal opinion, I think it's God ordained, and the Declaration of Independence was as well. And I think the founding of our country, the United States of America, was God ordained.
What Jim's saying
Um,
here, I totally agree. We should start arresting people, like in the Epstein case. But the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is, it's not going to clean up all the corruption that's in D.C. if you just get the people who are on the Epstein's list. Because how many people here believe that America was full of perverts long before Epstein got here?
yeah.
They've been perverts for a long time. Just like no one went to jail in the Diddy case. They're both getting away from that. But the truth of the matter is, D.C. is so corrupt, and Epstein isn't the biggest part of it.
Yep. Jim, I agree with you on this. That I just said that the original Constitution, and when you're and again, this goes back to activist judges on the Supreme Court
Absolutely.
throughout the years.
We got to get rid of them.
Well, the only way to get rid of all those rulings is to get rid of the annotated Constitution and say we're not going to go by this before or anymore. We're going to go back to the original Constitution as it was written and as it was intended.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's 10:02, Fred. We never did get to the other part. I was gonna morph this into discussions on the 9th and 10th Amendments in the Bill of Rights, because it kind of followed what would happen if they tried to take over other cities. If they tried to federalize, for example, the Philadelphia police force or the New York police force, I think you would definitely be in violation.
I don't think you do it.
No, you couldn't do that. But anyways, we got into a good conversation. As usual, we didn't follow our notes, and we still had a good conversation. So, hey, I appreciate everybody being on today. I really do, Christy and what I would say. Okay, let's go back to what Jim says. There's the annotated. No, I won't, Jim. I don't think so, because the Home Rule Section 740 has to do with Washington, D.C. itself and how it's to be governed. The Constitution said it was going to be under federal control. It never left federal control. It's not part of the annotated Constitution. There's no mention in the Constitution or the annotated Constitution that I know that even mentions Home Rule Section 740 of Washington, D.C. So it's not in that document in any section that I believe. If you can show me where it is in that annotation somewhere, I'd be glad to read it. But I think that one thing has nothing to do with the other. The Constitution states clearly that the Washington, D.C. area, the nation's capital, is under federal control. That's what the Constitution says. Within that federal control, if they want to adopt a whole home rule form of government within that, and it's still under federal control, they haven't done anything to violate the original intent of the Constitution. Again, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, and I don't play one on TV, but that's my opinion. Tom, nobody can be found guilty of treason unless two people describe the same obvious act of treason in open court, or unless the person says, I think I've read that somewhere before, or unless the accused person admits that they did the deed. And then Congress decides how to punish treason. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you for allowing, for bringing that to our attention.
That way?
Well, Jim, federal control by Congress, it does state that it's under Congress, but it doesn't, again, does it state that it has to be an act of Congress if you do anything? I don't know. I guess you get into a gray area there. The Constitution says Washington, D.C. is under federal control, period. It's under federal control. It's under federal control through Congress, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Once you go beyond that, you're outside the scope of the Constitution. As long as it remains in federal control, and administered by Congress, let's call it that, administered by Congress,
Right.
then the home rule of Washington, D.C. and the sections of that home rule would be constitutional, if you will, because they haven't done anything to violate the original intent that it would be under federal control. Christy, you mentioned you can't see Tom's. I don't know if you're watching us on
Because he's
Patriot Pulse podcast or on Two Guys Drinking Coffee, but we talked about that at the beginning of the show, where evidently the Patriot Pulse comments can't be seen by the other side, and so maybe we should just be doing one or the other. I don't know, but we've got so many people on Two Guys Drinking Coffee. I hate to leave them out because they haven't all found.
I see all the comments, but I'm on both. I'm streaming on both, and I do see both of your comments, though.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, Jim. So if Congress does it, is it constitutional? If the president does it, it is not constitutional. I don't know. You gotta interpret Section 740 of the Home Rule. Okay, if Section 740 gives the authorization for the president to do what he did, to bring law and order into the city, then it's not in violation of the Constitution. All right, let's put it this way. If the Constitution had said Washington, D.C. is under the control of the federal government, and any actions whatsoever have to be approved by Congress, then yes, that would be a violation of the Constitution, because it wasn't enacted by an act of Congress. But it doesn't say that. It just says it's under federal control. So you have some leeway in there.
True.
All right. Let's see here. Well, shoot. So if Congress does it, is it constitutional if the president all right, I already showed that one. It's a Constitution original intent. It is under the powers of Congress. Let me go back to my notes here. Section 740. Let me share this on this. We're going longer. I apologize, but let's talk about it since it comes up. Share it here. Okay. Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, enacted in 1970, does not have specific expiration date. I did talk about that. Remains in force indefinitely. Talked about that. Section 740 of the Home Rule Act, specific transitional provisions, including the conditions certain. I'm looking in here to see if there's anything that says Section 740 of the Home Rule Act addresses specific transitional provisions, but I don't see anything in here that says if you do something under Section 740 that it has to be approved by Congress. I guess my opinion on that would be, since Congress already approved the Home Rule Act that Section
which is already in
740
place,
is part of, since they already approved it, then that would be their authority. In other words, it doesn't say every single thing that you do has to come before Congress.
right?
So you tell
rules
me.
already in place. The rules already in place, so why would you have to go through Congress if Congress has already established it? That's the question I'm asking. If it's already been established by Congress, why do you got to go back to it?
I'm going to put this up here because I don't think we're looking at apples and oranges. We're looking at two different things, because they are two different things. We're not looking at the same thing from different perspective. We're looking at two different things. Okay. Apples and oranges would be, I'm looking at Fred here and saying, Fred is doing this, and you're looking at Fred and saying Fred is doing this over here, we're looking at the same thing and taking two different approaches to it. No, what I'm saying is the Constitution only says it's under federal control. Okay.
And looking at it that way, go
Go ahead.
Looking at it the way apples to oranges is the same reason that we're having all these illegals here. Some people think they should be tried. Well, the Constitution doesn't say they have to be tried. They're supposed to get kicked out of the country if they come in here illegally. So it's all in how you look at it. Some of you think that they should go to court. Most of us say they should just be kicked out.
Okay. Getting back to Jim's point, though, the Constitution says that it's under federal control. So if the federal government, i.e. the Congress, either enacted or approved, I don't know how it went down, but the Home Rule Act, I think it was a federal act. Oh, let me go back here. Yes, it was. Okay. Section 7040 District of Columbia Home Rule Act. It was a public law 93-198 enacted December 24th, 1973. So the Home Rule Act was enacted by the Congress. Okay. It had to pass. It was an act that had to pass. All right.
Exactly.
So the Constitution says it's under federal control. Nothing has been done that violated that. Home Rule Act was an act of Congress which told or gave guidelines to the District of Columbia how they could govern themselves autonomously, all while maintaining control by the federal government. In other words, the federal government was the overseers, but within that, Home Rule Act could be applied. So they did nothing
Illegal.
to violate the Constitution. Jim, you're splitting hairs here. You say it's under congressional federal control. And I'm saying the Home Rule Act of 740 passed by Congress gave Trump the ability to do what he did. So in essence, it was an act of Congress that gave him that ability.
True.
And no, the Home Rule Act does not change the intent of the Constitution. Prove that to me. It's still under federal control. That's what the Constitution says. It doesn't change the wording of the Constitution. It doesn't change the intent of the Constitution.
Y'all might have to have lunch over this one because it ain't going to end.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it's 13 after. We got to get going. I got to get over to the county fair because I'm working at the GOP booth and I got to get over there. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this spirited discussion at the end. And Jim, yes, we should discuss this again. Maybe we'll do a whole podcast on Washington, D.C. Well, we just did. Who am I kidding?
Just did.
All right. Fred, we always go to you to pray us out of here. And Lord knows we need it now. So would you do us a pleasure?
All right. With all the darkness in this world today, Lord, I ask, Lord, that you would bring the darkness to the light, bring the truth to us, give us wisdom to see through the darkness that the enemy is putting in front of us. There's so many stories out there, Lord, that's got us all confused. I ask, Lord, that you would give us wisdom, give us understanding, and bless everyone who's listening and open their hearts and their minds to see the truth. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. Hey, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you got something out of it. I know I did. This is a great conversation today. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Same time, same bat station. Okay, talk to you later. Have a great day. And wherever you are in the world, want you to have a great day. Be blessed.
And be a blessing to others.
Okay.